would like to share my experience as a queer person. I chose to be myself in high school and I got bullied for it. I was afraid every day.
That's my friend Wil. We've known each other since we were 12 years old, and we grew up together as queer kids. We were in different countries, but we were there for each other through that entire experience. We witnessed each other's struggles growing up as queer kids, and we were there for each other and supported each other. Growing up queer was quite a tough experience at times, but we had each other through it all, and that's why I felt that Wil would be the best person to ask to be a part of this documentary.
My name is Wil. I am 19 years old and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the United States of America. I'm now please hold your applause.
So why are you here for this interview today?
I'm here for this interview because I got asked to be a part of this, and I would like to share my experience as a queer person. I think it's really important for people to have the insider information, insider scoop, if you will.
How has your experience been as a queer youth in America?
I didn't know about gay people until I was 10. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this helped. I'm a homosexual, transgender man. I realized that I was transgender when I was 14. I was like, oh my god. I grew up a little bit south of Milwaukee, which is Milwaukee, where I moved to is pretty accepting, but I used to live 40 minutes south, and I was going to school in a town of about 5,000 people. I chose to be myself in high school, and I got bullied for it. I was called names, and I was barked at in the hallways, which is so weird. I don't understand why people do that, but it's hard living and trying to be yourself in a space that doesn't want you, won't take the time to listen.
Often queer youths in education can face discrimination and can feel fear when attending school, and they may not be able to express their identity very openly in school, as it may not be accepted by students or educators, and the way they may want to express their identity may not be accommodated for in their school environment. The Human Rights Campaign in America surveyed a bunch of LGBTQ plus youth to find out about their school experiences, and they gathered some statistics from that. They found that only 1 in 6 queer youth reported having people refer to them with the correct pronouns, and less than half of transgender and gender expansive students were able to use the facilities that aligned with the gender that they feel comfortable in. These experiences are very real. I experienced it in secondary school, where I was made fun of for my sexuality, often by people I didn't even know. They would call me names, derogatory terms. I had been pushed and shoved in the hallways. I'd even been pushed on the stairs. And it was an experience that made school, which was already an uncomfortable experience, even more uncomfortable. It was something that I couldn't control about myself, and yet people made me feel bad for that and took that as an opportunity to treat me badly when I had done nothing to them. And I think it just goes to show how some people perceive people with different sexual orientations or different gender identities, and how they can be treated in school environments.
As a queer person in Milwaukee, what would they be like towards sort of queer communities?
It's pretty accepting here. It was a culture shock. I got here and suddenly I wasn't called slurs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I found other gay people like me, because instead of going to a small high school where there are maybe 10 gay kids, you kind of have to huddle together for survival. You can choose who you want to be friends with here. And people don't, it's a lot easier for people to look past those kinds of things because it's normal.
Yeah.
I think it's normal here. It's okay.
Compared to where you are now, how was the treatment back in kind of your home city or your hometown?
In my home city, I was afraid every day that I would be, um, well, I don't want to say not that I would be physically hurt because it gets to that point. I was afraid to go outside. I would get harassed like almost daily, sometimes multiple times daily while at school. So I just kind of stayed to myself and I did what made me happy in the smallest corner of the school with the few people that did accept me and wanted me around because they saw me for who I was instead of a label that is applied to my person.
It's important for young queer people to have people around them that make them feel comfortable and make them feel safe to be their true selves. Queer youth are almost always the same as any other youth, except that they may identify differently with their sexual orientation or their gender identity than some other kids or teens. But deep down, a lot of these kids, no matter their sexuality or their gender identity, they're all really just the same. They just want to live their lives and not live in fear of discrimination or violence. Finding activities or hobbies or interests to indulge in can be a safe haven for youth, not just queer youth, but youth in general, especially when they find other people that allow them to be their authentic selves without making them feel bad about it. These sort of people and these spaces can be a really good environment for queer youth to be in, where they're not being discriminated for their identity or their sexual orientation. It gives them a place to relax and to not worry about what's happening outside of that specific space. They don't have to worry about what people think of their identity or their sexual orientation because they are within a space where people do not care about that and they don't treat you differently for it. And that is something that I think is really important for young queer people to have, is having a place or people that you feel safe with, because the experience being queer can so often feel uncomfortable and sometimes unsafe.
Have you been able to find like safe spaces or communities that you feel safe within? And if you have, like, how has that experience been to be around other people that can relate to how you feel, or even if they can't, like, just providing a safe space for you?
I think I don't have any labeled safe spaces, but I feel like it's the same as community. You build something over time with people with a shared goal or interest. I found that in high school. I found a safe space with people who cared for me as a person. And when I came to college, I am actually in a part of like community in the dorm rooms that I'm in, which is the queer like community.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like be grouped together. So I was put together immediately with a bunch of other queer people, and it really gave me a lot of perspective of what being queer is to different people, because it's really a space where nobody judges each other and we all coexist and we take inspiration from each other and like a breath of fresh air to be able to not worry about how I'm presenting, be accepted for who I still am.
With the sort of negativity and discrimination and sometimes the violence that queer people face, it's really important for them to have safe spaces to go to and talk about their struggles and what they may be facing, and to also find other people that relate to them or can be a comfort to them or an ally. There's pride events, often in June. There'll be pride parades to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community, and there's also things like Rainbow Camp, which is camp set up for queer kids to meet up and to have fun and feel safe in an environment with people like them. Pride events help to bring together a bunch of different people from all different identities, whether they're within the community or they're just an ally. It brings people together to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community, and it allows for a safe environment for these people to be themselves. We can see the sort of community and the support and really the reason behind why these sort of events happen through things like interviews from Milwaukee Pride.
It's something we definitely need. We need the energy. We need some relief of finally getting out and meeting people.
Camps like Rainbow Camp create spaces for young queer teens and kids to meet up and make friends and find people that relate to the experiences, and it gives them a space to be their most authentic self without being scared of discrimination that they may face at home or in their hometown. And it teaches these kids that they are meant to be safe in expressing their identity. They shouldn't be made feel unsafe in being their true self, which is talked about by some of the parents of the children at the Rainbow Camp.
Having it in this intimate environment, I think it's absolutely wonderful for the kids just to gain insight, have them answer some questions, give them something to think with some quiet time around them.
I think this experience specifically is very important because if anything, we need to teach our kids that they should be safe, that anything but that is unacceptable. So if you're in an environment that you don't feel safe, or it's causing you anxiety, you're not supposed to be there. That shouldn't be that way. If they don't realize at a young enough age that isn't right, they tend to accept it, and that hurts them as a person, right? Because you're accepting something you shouldn't have to accept.
I think it's very important that queer kids and teens learn that, as I think a lot of queer individuals can get used to ill treatment and discrimination and sort of just accept it because it seems to be a consistent and it seems to be the normal treatment they receive, when really it's not normal. They shouldn't be treated wrongly for their sexual orientation or their gender identity. And I think it's important that queer youth especially are taught that they should feel safe in expressing their identity and that there's nothing wrong with that. They should be allowed to feel safe.
With how like the media is presenting stuff and laws that have been coming in, how do you think those sort of like laws and media perception affect people that are maybe coming into their identity?
Transgender people who had their chosen gender on their driver's license had to turn them back over to the state and get that changed. So they had their sex assigned at birth on their cards, which at the time that was happening, it was right around when elections were going on, actually, local and state elections, which inhibited a lot of transgender voters to have their right to vote within that state.
Like, how do you think this media and these laws coming in have like affected, say, like younger youth that are maybe kind of coming to terms with their identity and figuring this out? Like, do you think it can change their perception or like bring fear?
Yes, entirely. I know it brought fear for me. It was just within this last year that a bill was being passed to overturn same-sex marriage, even though it was just same-sex marriage was legalized in 2016. It would have been 10 years, but thankfully the government voted to protect same-sex marriage. But as a queer youth, I was considering moving out of the country for a long, long time because I was scared to be who I was. And every day existing as myself was an act of protest to the people trying to scare these kids into submission. And it has had such an effect on a lot of youth that some of these kids who are gay have gone back into the closet and are hiding that from themselves and from other people for their safety, which is something that we should not have to do in this day and age. That is absurd.
As discussed by Will, there were recent discussions about overturning the legality of gay marriage in America. Many anti-LGBTQ plus laws have been introduced and some have even been passed in America in recent years. These anti-LGBTQ plus laws coming into place is instilling fear into the queer community, as these are laws that can be really restricting on their identity and their expression. One of the laws that was previously mentioned by Will was the Don't Say Gay law. This law legally requires a teacher or an educator to tell the parents of a child if that child has come to the teacher and told them that they identify as homosexual or that they identify with a gender that does not align with their biological gender. As of 2025, the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, have flagged 16 anti-LGBTQ laws in Wisconsin, which is the state that Will lives in. The largest number of anti-LGBTQ plus laws that have been passed in an American state is in Texas, with a terrifying number of 97 anti-LGBTQ plus laws. These type of laws can be really restricting and really dangerous for queer youth. In 2024, the Human Rights Campaign reported that nearly 40% of transgender students between the ages of 13 and 17 were living within states that restrict access to gender-affirming care. Further on, the Human Rights Campaign also reported that 300 of the 489 anti-LGBTQ plus laws that were introduced in 2024 specifically targeted youth and education. Many of these laws targeting youth and education will often target transgender and gender-expansive students. There are laws that exclude these students from school sports, that restrict them from using facilities that align with the gender they feel most comfortable with, intentionally misgendering individuals, and requiring educators to out queer youth to their parents. These type of laws can be very, very harmful and can put a lot of queer youth in potential danger, and it completely ignores the health and safety of these individuals entirely. It can severely impact queer youth, as it can prevent them from fully participating in their education and restricts their ability to live as their most authentic selves without negative consequences.
So, like, finally, is there like a message you would like to tell people as like a queer youth of this world? Like, anything you'd want to share with other people that may relate to how you feel, or to people that sort of challenge the idea of people like you?
I mean, there's two things I think I'd say that. It'd be to those two different people, to the youth and then to people who challenge these identities. I'll start with the challenging these identities. This isn't a problem that's going to go away. Queer people have existed since the dawn of time, and honestly, just I strongly, strongly insist that you do your own research and look into it. You don't have to talk to somebody, but you can certainly go Google something. But I promise it's not as scary as you think. And because most of these people are just trying to live their life. But to the queer youth, I would say, don't stop being who you are for somebody else. I think that is one of my favorite things about my childhood, that I didn't stop being who I was for anybody. And it has given me so much time to figure out who I was as a person, and it has given me so many opportunities to make friends and to make connections and to just figure out who you are, because that's what being a kid is all about. Even if you are questioning these things and they don't happen to fit you, that's okay. You don't have to make that decision because you are young. And it's okay to change your mind. Like, don't be scared. It's okay to figure these things out. It takes time, and that's okay.
I really appreciate that Will was so willing to help out with this documentary and to be a part of it. It's been a very important and just amazing experience for me to be able to do this with him, of all people, as I felt that if I was going to ask anyone to help me out with this, it would be him. He seemed like the perfect person we saw each other from the start of our journeys, and we're seeing each other through it now as it still on goes. And I'm really grateful that he decided to say yes and decided to be a part of this. LGBTQ plus individuals have always existed and always will exist, and we are not something that will just disappear, despite how hard some people may and try to make that happen. Being queer has at times been a bad experience for me, and it has also been for other individuals like Will, but for me, being queer is an experience that I would never trade for anything else in the world. I would do this over again every single time if I had the choice to. Despite the fact that having this identity can sometimes be a bad thing, not because of my own self and how I feel about the identity, but because of how others perceive it, you know, the discrimination that I face and the hate you'll see on social media and the misrepresentation. It's something that I'm really happy that I've had in my life and has been one of the best aspects of my life. Being a queer person has been very important to me and has helped me learn a lot, and honestly it's been amazing because it's helped me to learn to be my most authentic self. Queer people will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to speak about our experiences and speak about who we are, what we think, give our opinions, speak about our experiences, and spread information in hopes that maybe someone who may not be well informed or somebody that may not agree with us can hear what we speak about and just even gain a little insight and understand a new perspective. Because I think that's all that we would really like, is people just opening up to our perspective and seeing it from our side and just giving us a chance. The final thing I want to leave off on is sort of a message, and it's that I think people should be their most authentic selves, and I think it's something you should always aim to do. I think being your most true self can be something that is kind of a scary experience. It definitely can be a scary experience, but I think at the end of it all, it is the most worth it to be your true self, because you will feel most at home with that. So I say do it. I say do what makes you happy. Do what feels comfortable. Be what is most you. Indulge in the hobbies you love. Indulge in the interests you have. You know, keep having your humour and keep being exactly who you are. Because I think ultimately it will lead to the most happiness if you are being the most true to yourself as you can be.